Hello and welcome to E.O.K. This is our Wednesday morning meeting, and we're doing a member spotlight this morning. Our guest is Mr. John Wood with Egerton McAfee. And as we normally do these, we have a 10-minute spotlight, and then we try to talk about that member a lot so that you guys get to know them and know what they do and feel a little more comfortable just hanging out with that member and spending some time with them and maybe doing business with them or bringing them in on a project just to ask them a few questions. So this is our Wednesday morning spotlight, member spotlight, and Mr. John Wood is here with us today. John, thanks for being here. I want to start off, you and I have worked together a little bit on a few projects, and it's been great. Because my projects have been working with John. One was a software product, fairmechanics.com, and that was great because of your background in software. And then you've helped with Neighborhood Nerds, and you've helped with Arcade Properties, and it's been great working with John, but also having that firm behind him too, where he turns around and asks them a few questions. So Egerton McAfee, if you guys need a law firm here in town, definitely check those guys out. So let's talk a little bit about, I know a little bit about your background, mainly because of the Clemson thing. I knew that stood out to me because Debbie went to Clemson. But tell me a little bit about like where were you, where did you grow up before you even got into this whole working for a living kind of thing?
So I actually grew up in Clemson. Most people don't even realize Clemson's a town. We were on the far edge. We lived on the far edge of Clemson, and we were about 2 miles from the middle of town. I could ride my bike into town. It's a town of about 8,000 or 9,000 people. So a very small college town.
And when the students are there, it's like 3 or 4 times that.
Right. So, there's 8,000 or 9,000 residents, and I think there's close to 20,000 students. And then, of course, on Saturdays in the fall, there's 80-something thousand people in town. So it really changes based on what time of the year, what day of the week.
And that is an amazing stadium, Death Valley. Mm-hmm. And just Death Valley. I mean, that's kind of cool to walk into. You're entering Death Valley. Just a cool university. So you grow up in Clemson. I didn't realize that. So Clemson was like on your radar as the place you wanted to go? I mean, living?
Well, growing up, I was very interested in computers. And as I started looking, so I knew I wanted to get a computer degree in college, have that as my major. And when I started looking around, Clemson was actually a very good option. And it was right there, it was easy. I lived on campus, so I didn't get the full college experience. And of course, being in state, it was very affordable.
Cool.
So it worked out really well.
Now, computer science degree, when did you go through? What year did you graduate?
So I finished in 91.
91. Okay, that's the same time I did. A computer science degree then is very different from a computer science degree today. What did you do with that degree, like coming out of Clemson? Did you go to work for a company, or did you immediately go into law?
No, so when I finished my undergrad, I was thinking about getting a master's in computer science. I took the LSAT. I was thinking about law school. Okay. I was very interested in law, even at that time, or going to work for a company. I got a master's at Clemson, and then I went to work for IBM. So I had invested so much in computers. I loved it. And so I decided, at that point, I really wanted to at least start my career in computer science. So I went to work for IBM in the Research Triangle Park in Raleigh, and worked on a Unix operating system called AIX. I worked on protocols and did a lot of low level work. And then after a while, some people that I knew left IBM and went to a startup there in town. And after they got started, I went over and joined up with them. So there were 4 people who left, and then I was the third person went and joined them. So when I started, there were 7 of us. Those 4, me and another guy as developers, and then they had hired a marketing person. And we grew to about 100 people, sold the company in 3 years for $172 million. And then I stayed on for a little while with the new company. And eventually I got into management of software projects, started working with other companies, started working on mergers and acquisitions and those kinds of things. And then, I could go to law school and do this kind of work with lots of companies full time.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did.
Oh, cool. Now, whenever I was in school, very interested in computers, and I worked on like Spark workstations, Iris graphic workstations, so Unix-based, systems. Looking at those and seeing Windows come on the scene, Microsoft, Windows, I thought, this is a silly little company, this Microsoft thing. And I thought this interface is so goofy. Why would you use this? Because, X Windows was available on these Spark workstations, and it works so well for multi-windows and everything. And I'm like, why would anybody use this little low-powered computer for with this Windows thing on it? At the same time, the Apple machines were coming out, and I kind of thought the same thing about them. I'm telling you my short-sightedness. This is a goofy little machine too. I don't get why somebody would work on this. Did you have those thoughts? Being in the Unix world and IBM, did you look at those things and think, well, these are just toys?
Yeah, and I guess what I've learned and being in software development and trying to, understanding it kind of at its deepest level and then trying to sell to people who don't, is that what I want to build and what developers want to build is not necessarily what people want to buy. They don't care about the technology, they just care about the use. Yeah. And a lot of times it's momentum in the marketplace. And so one of the things I really had to work against was developers often want to build something they think is cool, not something that will sell.
Yes.
And I said, I don't care what you want to build. We're running a business. Someone has to buy this product. We're going to build the thing that we want to sell. So one of the things I ran into multiple times was developers almost always wanted to work in Unix, or they wanted to build, they wanted to use free stuff. They really didn't like Microsoft very much. It was sort of the evil empire. It's like, we're selling to businesses. Businesses use Microsoft. We're building we're going to run on Windows and have Microsoft interfaces because that's our customer.
All you nerds need to get in line. Listen to me.
So it was
quit building what you want.
You can still have fun doing that, and Microsoft has come a long ways from Windows 3.1. You can tell. They put a lot into it. Their operating system's very sophisticated now.
So what was this startup that you guys, you had an exit of 170 something million?
Yeah, 172 million. So, and that was in I think we sold in, it's either 99 or 2000. So that was right at the tail end of the whole .com craziness. We were, of course, a very substantial company, not like the other.
Again, was good.
Right. But
posting photos and sharing with your friends.
At IBM,
sell for $1 billion.
Right.
You're much more substantial.
That's right. At IBM, I worked on protocols, as I said. So, writing protocols, the actual protocol stacks for the Unix operating system. And this company was focused on testing networks. So we kind of moved up a layer. So we were using the protocol stacks we were testing network boxes, networks themselves. So our main customers were network equipment manufacturers. They're building a new box. They run through a test cycle. They've got to generate traffic and different kinds of traffic in order to test that box out and see how it's going to perform before they start shipping it. So those were the those were the tools we were building.
It's exciting, fun stuff.
Yeah, it was. It actually was. It was really neat. And even one of my biggest clients now was a vendor that I use that we used back then. So their company makes some networking tools, and we were using some of those tools. And now that I'm an attorney, he's one of my biggest clients.
Yeah, there's a few of those guys that still get royalties off of that whole stack, right? Like the network communications and protocols and everything that continually get used from the networking that was just a bunch of computers connected that we would Gopher and FTP and whatever around to now being the internet.
Right. Yeah, that's a great, because back then nobody knew exactly how to do it. And so there was a huge market for, buying the pieces and parts from different people. And if you were smart enough to set up your business where you got continuing royalties, once you put it in the product, you're probably not going to take it out. It's more cost effective to continue to pay the royalty than to try and rewrite.
Now, after that exit, you talked about moving more into the management and the even merger acquisition kind. Was that with the new company that had bought you? You stayed on with them for a period of time?
I did. So our company was in Research Triangle Park, and they kept us as a division. We were still making our same products, really doing the same thing we did, just inside of a bigger company. So for multiple years, we got to continue to run our company, which was really cool.
So you get a check, plus you get to keep playing.
Right.
Doing the same stuff.
Right. Plus now you're in a public company, so all your stock's liquid.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Excellent. Yeah. And so then you go from that stage to, you decide, well, I'm going to go back and be an attorney and do this for other people too.
Mm-hmm.
And when did that happen?
So I went to law school in 2005 at UT. Moved the whole family here to Knoxville. And
why'd you pick UT?
I grew up in Clemson. My wife's parents live in North Georgia, so we sort of drew a circle around, and they actually live about 45 minutes apart. Mm-hmm. So we kind of drew a circle around there. We wanted to be really about within 3 hours of our parents. Mm-hmm. UT, I knew I wanted to go into business transactional law, and UT has a number of professors who practiced in that area for 10 to 15 years and then decided they wanted to move into full-time teaching and come to law school. And so when I came to the open house that they had at UT and met the professors and saw the program, it fit our model, for location. It was just a really good fit, and I really enjoyed the law school and the professors. And I'm actually next week I'm gonna start teaching.
Oh, cool.
At the law school as well on a part-time basis, of course.
I think Robbie's been doing that too, hasn't he?
He does.
Robbie Robinson.
Yeah.
Because I had to write. Somebody called me or something about him whenever he was first looking at doing that. Like, is he okay? He's great.
Yeah. Robbie's done that for a number of years, and I think it's worked out really well for him.
So you go to law school. Did you immediately go to work for Egerton?
Yeah. So I kind of looked all over. We wanted to stay in Knoxville because obviously we moved, had our kids in school here, we'd gotten settled as a family. We liked the area. But I looked all over, looked at Atlanta. I actually worked a summer down there, at a firm in Atlanta. But Edgerton was a really good fit. We're focused on businesses. We have a number of large local clients that we're outside general counsel for. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of good, sophisticated work, in the business area. and they really liked the idea that I understood, software and intellectual property and that kind of thing. So I can help out on any transaction, and almost every transaction has some software component to it now. I can help out and help them understand what all the issues are and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Now, Edgerton McAfee, they have, did you say this is their main office here? Do they have multiple offices, or is this?
It's our only office. So we started in 1932 here in Knoxville. And Mr. Edgerton and Mr. McAfee started the firm, and they, of course, are no longer here. Although Mr. McAfee's son is still with the firm, but they were started off representing a bank. So that was in the Depression. They set up a bank and represented it. So ever since the beginning, the firm has been doing business type law.
And what kind of resources does the firm have? Handle anything? Like, probably not criminal.
So we don't do any criminal. We don't do any.
We keep you from getting in trouble.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. If you get to the.
Done business with them.
That's true.
Yeah. Sometimes I tell people if you do that, you may go to jail, but that's probably the extent of that's the extent of the criminal law. We don't do any criminal law. We do very, very little family law. It's usually to help out, an existing client.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not doing divorces or those type of issues. We do have one attorney that's started doing some adoptions.
Mm-hmm.
So we do a little bit of family law. It's mostly business transactional work, so helping people with contracts, setting up companies. We do a lot with people raising money and doing private offerings. We don't do any public offerings, but if it's a private offering, we do that. We can prepare the offering materials, that type of thing. We have several litigators that primarily work with our business clients, so on business litigation type issues.
I've been impressed with you guys, and I don't know, is this like common in the firm, I guess, where if it's not something that's like your real strong point that you guys do, you're fine like referring me somewhere else and saying, well, here, let's get with Robbie to do that IP work, or let's get with these guys to do that property subdividing or whatever.
Right. So for example, we don't do we don't do any patent work at all. And so if it's clear someone needs some patent work, then we have some attorneys, like Robbie, that we refer people to get that help, because our goal, and we end up working with a lot of attorneys all over. So oftentimes we're having to hire counsel in other cities, to help people out, and we oversee that because we know our client, because we work with them, year after year after year, and there may be one matter they have in another city. They don't really want to have to deal with it as much, but they need an attorney in that city. So, we can help with that, and we figure if we're going to maintain the relationship, we're only going to maintain the relationship if we're helping you get the best service, and we don't do everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because for me, I have some questions about working outside of the country, like like one, just a piece of property that's not in the country, and thinking about that, like, you guys could help be a representative even to like talk to somebody down there, or even go down there and say, okay, we need to figure this out. The ownership information, paying the taxes and all that kind of stuff. But then looking at other stuff like fair mechanics, like if we go outside of the country, what does that look like in other countries?
Right. So I've helped people with helping somebody with a transaction in Australia right now. And so we've had counsel that we work with in Australia to make sure we're doing everything we need to do under Australian law. But our client's here, he wants to deal primarily with us. but we need that, assistance of counsel in other countries. Because obviously we're not admitted in another country. We don't understand all those laws. So
Now, so how does a law firm, I'm guessing that a law firm always wants to find new clients and good clients and be expanding all the time. How do you go about, you guys or anybody, finding clients? What's the best way to do that?
For us, primarily it's word of mouth and getting out and meeting people.
It's a big reputation kind of thing, and it's a big, how did they work with you, like the relationships?
Right.
Seems like.
Yeah. So, and often because most of our clients are long-term clients, so we don't have a client come in, they need one thing, and then we never talk to them again. Usually we've developed a relationship. So, one, that's steady work over a long period of time, so you don't need, 20 new clients a week coming into your office. But when you have that relationship, then if they know someone who needs help, that's usually, they're usually going to recommend us. If it's in our area.
And I see different kinds of clients, different kinds of attorneys advertising differently. Like I was talking to Dave Morehouse about this. Like, I don't see Dave with his picture on the side of the bus.
Right.
And I don't see you guys ever running ads on late night TV of, chasing people down in a speedboat or anything. So what's the difference between those different kinds of firms, and are there rules about advertising, marketing, or is it just like an unspoken?
No, there are rules. The difference is the personal injury attorneys are trying to reach the mass market, and it's a one-time shot for them. So they've got to have a continual stream of new people coming in, because someone has a car wreck, they go to the attorney, they get whatever settlement they're going to get. Well, they're not going to do anything else for that person unless they have another car wreck, right?
So they have periodic car wrecks and
right. So they don't have ongoing attorney needs. We're not trying to reach that person. We're trying to reach the business that's growing, that needs help and advice, and hope, if we can help make the business successful, then they need more legal help. Because they're entering into contracts and they want to add people, and they want to, do partnerships and have resellers and agents and, all kinds of things.
Do any of your clients kind of grow up and transition away from you to something else, or can you take care of them no matter how large they get? We have some pretty large clients, and we've had some really big clients for a long time. So like I said, if we have a client who's started in Knoxville and they now have significant operations in California. Now, so I've learned a lot about California law. We do a lot of agreements for them. When they have litigation in California, I have a California litigation attorney that I use for them, to help them out. So they are going to need additional attorneys, but we're still able to be that central advisor. I think the place where they could potentially grow up is if they decide they're going to build their own in-house counsel. Then obviously they wouldn't need us as much for outside counsel. But a lot of our clients are really big. They have no in-house counsel, and they're perfectly content to really use us as their outside counsel, general outside counsel. So everything kind of comes through us first.
Because I was curious about that as far as if a company gets to a certain size, they might think it's easier to have those people work in-house. But with a firm, you've got a lot of different people with a lot of different experience. You've got some expertise that if they were just to hand pick one person, that person may not know everything. But I'm guessing if you have a client at your firm, they can, if it's something that your specialty, they can come to you, and another person may have a specialty in another area and go to them. So So it's like having a lot more people to.
Right. And if they don't want to, if they don't need to call us for 3 weeks, they don't pay us for 3 weeks. That's one thing they like, right? So it's sort of, yeah, it's sort of, we're not on the payroll, we're not that kind of thing. Now, one of our clients who, so they just recently crossed $100 million. They have about 500 employees, and they were getting so many, and we did a lot of form contracts for them for their business, and a lot of those they were having to negotiate. Of course, the negotiations were similar for each one. So they were like, we really don't want to send all that to you, and so we helped them hire a paralegal, and we actually let the paralegal worked in our office for 3 months. I trained her on the contracts, let her sit in on all the negotiations so she could learn the issues. So if she gets a question in a certain area, she just handles it. And then after that 3 months, she's now their full-time employee. So
That's really nice.
she can handle a lot of that routine stuff, which I think has really cut down on their cost, and I don't have to. There wasn't a reason for me to have to do that for them, but once every couple of days, she's calling me with a question. Well, they want this. What about this? So now, instead of me having to spend an hour, she can call me and spend 5 minutes, and they get so they can get a lot of that done in house. So we're still working with them, but a lot of that specific area they were able to handle by bringing somebody in house.
Now, everyone that I've worked with, all the attorneys that I've worked with, none of it was like a cold call or like something I saw an ad, or anything. I mean, it was, I met them through some other organization. So through church, there's been like probably 5 different attorneys that I've worked with that I knew at church first. Sporting events where my boys have played soccer or basketball or swam. Rotary, I've met several attorneys there that I've worked with. E.O.K. has brought me 3 different attorneys that I've worked with. How important is that to just be in the community and letting people get to know you personally to get them as a client?
Well, I think the biggest thing about an attorney is you have to have somebody you trust, because the real point of an attorney is not just putting the contract together, but giving you advice and helping you with the decisions, helping you understand the risk and that kind of thing. And you want to talk to someone whose interests are aligned with yours, who has the background and the knowledge to be able to give you the advice. But ultimately, it's got to be somebody you trust. And I think the fact that we work with our clients for such a long period of time, if we can't develop that relationship, then we're not going to have those long-term clients. And so that's how we've built our business.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you've given me great advice. Even business-wise, I think you usually put some kind of disclaimer on it. But you do say, this is what I would think. This is what I would do, business. Any questions for John? Anybody?
How would you describe small business? What's your definition of small business?
What's my definition of a small business?
What is a small business?
Is there something, I don't know, you're just talking about what they would consider as a firm, as a small business versus a large.
10 or half.
I help people who are, hey, I've got this idea, I'm about to leave my employer, and me and my buddy are going to set up a company, right? What are all the issues I need to think
You call them a
about?
small business?
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody who wants to sell something and go into business is a small business.
Well, that's not a difference of opinion. I say I'm a one-man or less small business. Part-time. That doesn't qualify a lot of tax law.
Yeah, that's true. For an attorney, though, there probably is just as much liability and risk and concerns for that part-time business owner as there is for
Probably more.
multi-employee, yeah.
Right.
Uh,
And I've liked that too, like of just comments on, are you thinking about this liability insurance? Are you thinking about, this tax consequences and stuff? I mean, that's good information just to bounce off of your attorney.
Right.
I have a question that, I don't know if it's just popped in my head, but, so if I were to have like a large company and I was looking for, a firm that would be a good fit for all of my, legal needs, I suppose people can come in and basically have an interview with you, not because you're an employee that they're hiring, but to make sure you're a good fit.
Oh, sure.
Suppose. You
Yeah.
just don't well, the name of this firm sounds great, I'm just gonna go with them, if you didn't know anything about them.
Right. Sometimes people approach it that way. Oftentimes what happens is someone has a very urgent need, a big contract for a lot of dollars. They don't have anybody, and so then they're talking to all their friends. Okay, I got to get some help. Who do I talk to? I've got to, do this. I had somebody call me last week who hadn't worked with before, and they needed. I think they called me. It's either Tuesday or Wednesday, and they had a transaction that had to close Friday, and could I help them? And it's somebody I knew. But I had never, I had never done any legal work for them.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, they've got this need. They've got to have somebody to help them. And so oftentimes that's the way a relationship starts. So it's almost like they kind of try you out because they have no choice. And then, if they like the way it went, maybe I'll hear from them again in a couple of months when they need something else.
I guess people don't sometimes, they see, attorneys as sort of a necessary evil in a way, but I think some people don't realize how important they can be until they want to do something like start a business or they, have some sort of transaction that they need counsel on. But yeah, it's almost like you have to come across as just, very helpful and happy. People just have a bad idea sometimes about attorneys.
Well, and one reason I wanted to be a transactional lawyer as opposed to a litigator is usually in a transaction, both sides are really excited and happy about what they're doing. Right? And you're just helping them
Structure.
You're helping them structuring and
And
get
making it as happy as possible.
and get there. And if anything, so you're working with people who are excited about what they're doing. And if anything, you're saying, now, I know you don't think anything could ever go wrong, but you think 50-50 is the way to go, but you really don't want to do that, right? Because if something goes wrong, you're going to have some problems, right? Like, no, nothing would ever go wrong. We're always in sync. We all, that's a lot of what when two people come to you and want to start something up. So if anything, you're sort of trying to dial them back. But it's nice to work with people who are excited about their business. They've got some great idea, and it's neat to see them take off and be a successful business.
Mm-hmm.
And to be part of that, like you can probably sit back and think of all the different businesses and people that you've helped, like get them from their idea to maybe a very successful business. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Jim?
So a company writes me a letter from Dubai and is interested in some of my research. And I don't know how to begin to talk to your person.
Yeah, I mean, you would, if you've never been through that before, then it's a good idea to talk to an attorney. Obviously, you'd want to have some level of trust before you send all your information over to them, but you need to get in
This
place.
would be a combined research project with a lot of inventing to be done along the way.
Right. So you just have to be really careful to think through how you're going to protect your intellectual property. And, if you were either had some patents or were about to file for some patents or whatever, I would want to pull in a patent attorney.
Well,
Right.
this is just, they just want me to help, they want to encourage me in the development of a new technology. That they're offering me some money for a percentage. And I'm kind of confused about how to go about this. My patents have run out, but there will be lots of patents to come out of this if we get into an arrangement.
Right.
It's something we need that hasn't been developed yet.
Yeah. So
I just proved a concept years ago, but it was never taken any further.
right. So you'd need to, think through a really good agreement with them. And when you're dealing with somebody overseas, depending on what country it is, there's more risk there because it's harder to protect yourself sometimes in that country, right? And the last thing you want is to have to go to Dubai and sue somebody.
But you can represent a client like that and just even do some of the initial conversations. You can
Oh,
pick
yeah,
up the phone
yeah.
and call them and say,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Who is,
can help you
somebody
start
speak to you?
depending on how the contract is. If so for U.S. companies, I always tell my clients, you've got to have U.S. law. That if they're going to insist on U.S. law and U.S. venue, then we'll define it. And then you can at least protect yourself in the United States. So your ideas, your inventions, if we define it right, they wouldn't be able to at least come into the U.S. And then, depending on how big it is, you're just going to have to think about what kind of protection you want internationally. Because the problem you have with patents is all the inventors have to be on board with the patent, or they need to have assigned their rights over to you, or over to a company. So you got to work all that out in the contract. Who's going to actually own everything?
Well,
It seems like-
for someone.
and you guys seem to have research tools that or know how to use them, I guess, better than us. So you can check out a company quickly and who owns it and, is it real? How long have they been around? What are these multi-layers of companies that they have and why do they have them?
Yeah, and we subscribe to some services that it wouldn't make sense for a business to subscribe to.
Mm-hmm.
So we can get information and we can do legal research and that type of thing. So we're, paying a big monthly fee for that, but we need those tools, to offer those services.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Can't know everything, right?
Right. No, there's, oftentimes there is a lot of, depending on the issue, especially if it's related to litigation, there's a lot of research, that has to go on.
I have a question. I hope it's not too forward, but is there a fee for initial consultation, and what would the fees be if that's not?
If someone just wants to call and kind of check it out, there's no fee for that. So, and if you decide to go forward, then we can talk about fees depending on what
Is involved?
what help you actually need.
I met with an attorney years ago, real super nice guy here in town. I'm not sure if he's still practicing. I would assume that he is. But we met multiple times, and he never charged me anything. Like we would talk about ideas and about this business, and he would give me like his advice. And I kept telling him, I'm ready to pay you, if this is something we're going to do. And he kept saying, well, you're still just kind of exploring this one. Let's wait until you get it kind of firmed up and you're like really wanting to go forward with it. And I'm like, all right.
Different attorneys handle that differently. I'm happy to talk to somebody and, because one, I may not be able to help them, right? So there's no reason to pay me if I'm not the right person to help you. It may be some issue. We may have a conflict. So if you're doing a deal with someone else and we represent that company, we can't help you. So you may get into it, we have a conflict, I can't help you, or it's not an area that we're experienced in. You know, it may not be able to help you, but, and quickly thereafter, I mean, you ought to be able to make a, you know, I figure you can make a decision, okay, now that I told you I can help you, you know,
Let's get on the clock.
yeah, just, you know,
Here's the engagement.
we can decide what we're gonna do, right?
Would you serve on the board of advisors? Leah's been trying to put together a system where we have critique people's ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would consider serving on the board. You know,
Well, that's really a question for Leah.
yeah.
But my purpose in this world is to put together a board of directors that has 8 people on it. One of them is a lawyer, but the other guy is the inventor, on and on, the data manager. 8 different people can run the world. Obama takes a few more than that, and I can run it with 8 people.
Yeah. Good.
No, I'm serious as a heart attack. That's the next thing we're going to do is put together a system that has a guest speaker. 8 people can be at home. You know, we don't have to be here.
Mm-hmm.
They say that whatever they say, if it means anything to you, you can respond. But the speaker would have access to 8 of the smartest people in the world through this system. And that's a long question.
Okay.
All right, well, John, thank you for being here today. Thanks
All
a
right.
lot.
Thank
You've
you.
been a great guest and spotlight, and we'll talk more about you as the week goes on and mention you a few more times.
Okay.
And definitely want all the members to know about what's going on at Edgerton McAfee and what's going on with you, that you're available to help them with, you know, filling out this new startup that they're thinking about or expanding their business or whatever. So
Okay.
thanks a lot. That's been the E.O.K. Spotlight this week with John Wood. And check us out online at EOKHQ.com or follow us at EOK Town on Twitter. Thanks. All right. What?
Good.
Sponsors.
That was a lot.
Oh, I never did thank sponsors on this one.
So,
I
Yeah.
want you to try, but
Okay.
Yeah.